ended up getting kidnapped. I was held in a cage for 8 days, beat and raped and drugged. They was going to kill me because my mom had reported me missing. My name is Stephanie Kramer, and I'm here to help other people like me. Well, my end goal is to work in the Goodwill Aspire program and go back into the prisons and help, because it has changed my life. Like, I've never felt so good about myself in my whole life. You know, I'm actually working on the things that have hindered me, my trauma, because I've had a lot of trauma. Before addiction, I am from McCreary County. I was born in Somerset, but then my mom moved to Ohio with me, so I grew up in Ohio until I was like 14. Didn't meet my real dad until I was 14. My mom and my stepdad raised me. I had a good childhood up until about 11 years old. When I was 11, I was molested by my uncle, and that, you know, changed my childhood from there. When I was 14, my mom and my stepdad split up, and we ended up moving back to Kentucky, and that's when I met my real dad. Got pregnant when I lost my virginity, so at 15. And the person that I was with was not a good person. He actually tried to beat my child out of me, and his brother came in and rescued me. So that had an impact on me too. So I had my first son when I was 16. I had him 10 days after my 16th birthday. Around that time is when I guess I started drinking and smoking marijuana. Met my ex-husband at the time, and my oldest son was 6 months old at the time. And then we ended up having 3 kids together, 2 boys and a girl. And then after we had our daughter, I was 26. We ended up splitting up because we had started doing hard drugs by then. And then after that, at that time is when I had a really traumatic event happen to me that had a major impact on my life. And I also lost my dad, who I didn't meet until I was 14 at the age of 21. And my stepdad that I raised died the same year. So both of those things have a major impact. I feel like my life probably would have been different if my dad was still around. So I only got to know him for 7 years. And that's when I grew up an only child, and I found out I had about 13 brothers and sisters at that time. So that was good. You know, I got to know my siblings at that time, but most of them I didn't. Right now, like now, I ain't got a really good relationship just because of my life choices. So I'd say after I was 21, I didn't start doing hard drugs yet, but I was an alcoholic. I was drinking a whole lot. So when me and my ex-husband split up when I was 26, I ended up getting kidnapped, and I was held in a cage for 8 days, beat and raped and drugged, and they was going to kill me because my mom had reported me missing. There was a couple there that got me out of the house and dropped me off at a motel. And of course my mom called the cops. The cops came and made me go to a different hotel because they was afraid that they would come and try to find me. It was, you know, I took a ride with somebody, but I didn't know that's what was going to happen. And the guy I took a ride from took me to this place, and it was a retired sheriff, actually, and his 3 adult sons that done it to me. And the people that got me out of the house said they was going to kill me the next morning. So the cops wanted me to stay and testify, but I was young. I was 26. I was scared to death. So I ended up just going back to Ohio, and that's when my addiction really escalated because I didn't know how to deal with that. I thought if I just stayed high, I wouldn't have to deal with it, which is not really the case. I mean, the problem's still there. And I have suffered with my addiction for at least 20 years, if not longer. I mean, including the alcohol and the marijuana, the 30 years altogether. And my kids suffered because of it. I wasn't there to raise them like I should have been. You know, so they've been through some bad traumas themselves because I wasn't there. And I hold a lot of guilt from that. I have rocky relationships with my kids, but it's getting better. I just self-medicated for so many years. And I started out, you know, snorting cocaine, snorting meth, smoking meth. And then when I was about 28, I started using a needle. And The needle is the devil. It took everything from me. Once I started it, it was over with. I lost everything. I lost my sanity. I lost my family, my freedom, everything. Dang near my soul. And I've almost died several times. This time before I went to prison, I was injecting so many drugs into me, I was trying to kill myself. And it didn't work. And there's a reason, because it should have. As much drugs as I put into my body, there's no way that I should be sitting here telling my story. I should be dead. And only by the grace of the God am I not. Going to prison again, because it wasn't the first time I went to prison, saved my life. Because I learned what's really wrong with me. I've always had addiction problems. I've always had mental health. But I did not know that those two went together. So I went to the substance abuse program with co-occurring disorders. And I learned that I have to treat both my addiction and my mental health issues at the same time in order to stay sober and be a productive member of society again. I've worked on my trauma, because I have bipolar, I have PTSD, I have borderline personality disorder, severe anxiety, severe depression, and I've never, worked on that before. I just self-medicated. And once I learned about that, and I go to therapy once a week, and I take medication, to help me. Between the medication and the therapy, I'm learning how to deal with my trauma without having to get high. I've been in addiction so long, relapse has always been a part of my story, and it's not anymore. I don't have that option. My next relapse will be my death. I know this because it almost was the last time. I tell myself every day when I get up, no matter what happens, my mom could pass away, I could lose my job, my kids could get hurt or get in a car wreck. The only thing I have to not do is not get high. That's the only thing I have to not do. And I know that now. And for the first time in 30 years, I don't have a desire to get high, which is God, because I've never not had a desire. I've always just wanted to get high, and not cared about anybody else. But I had to sit in prison for 4 years, and that's a long time. And that's the longest I've ever been, locked down for that. And I had a lot of time to think about stuff and I had been to prison back in 2011. So I went to prison then. I was there about a year and a half that time. Well, I got out and I stayed sober for 10 years. And, at that time, because I had lost my kids, so everything was real rocky with my kids, and some of them were still younger. My brother raised my daughter, my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, her dad raised her. My twins, their dad raised them, and they was all the way in Minnesota. And I tried to fix my relationships, and, I just, at the end of 10 years, I was just telling myself, why aren't they trying to have a relationship with me as hard as I'm trying? But they haven't done anything wrong. They're not the ones that need to be trying. They're not the ones that needs to fix it. It was me. So I just used that excuse to go back into addiction. And I went into full-blown addiction. Started selling drugs to support my habit. And like I said, at that time, I was injecting so many drugs into me. I don't even know how it was even possible for me not to die. I was homeless. I was living in my truck. I would do some really bad things to get what I needed, and I didn't care who I hurt in the process. Like my truck, when I went to jail over the beginning of all this stuff, I sold my truck to my son, and when I was in there for $1,000, I was supposed to pay him back. When I got out, I didn't pay him back. They let me have the truck. So to this day, I still owe him that money, you know. And my addiction was so bad. The night I got arrested and went to go do my time, I was at my boyfriend's, which he didn't work. He was, you know, a drug addict. And I haven't actually talked to him since I've been in prison. Like, I just cut it all the way off. But my son called me and said, "Do you want to come spend the night with your granddaughter?" And I said, "Yeah." So, and I was out in the woods at that time. He came about me. I was in my coveralls. I had drugs on me. I had a loaded needle on me with drugs in it. So he comes and picks me up, and we go to the gas station and get pulled over. And, you know, I tried to tell them I was somebody else, because at that time I had different people's IDs, different people's social security numbers. But, you know, the cops didn't go for it. And they ended up locking me up and had all these warrants for all this other stuff. And because I had 2 trafficking cases, one in Wayne County, one in Pulaski County. And I was just so deep in my addiction that I accused my son of setting me up. And he's like, "Are you serious right now?" I mean, that's just how far gone my mind was. Like, that I would, and my son is a good kid. Like, he's 32 years old. He works. He takes care of his family. You know, he doesn't get high. By the grace of God, none of my kids get high. And that's, I think, because of what they've seen me go through. And I'm so grateful for that. I have some really great kids. But I was just so far gone that I thought people were out to get me, and I was just out of my mind. And yes, I was definitely in meth psychosis, and I almost didn't make it back. Like, I really didn't almost make it back. My mind was so far gone. And I've seen people like that, and just to think about it and think that I was like that is just embarrassing. But at the same time, I use that as motivation to not ever be like that again, and as motivation to help other people. I want to help younger people try to get it before they get to where I got to, you know? Kept telling myself, I'll straighten up eventually, I'll straighten up eventually. And by that time my kids were grown and gone and didn't have nothing to do with me. And that's something I have to live with every day, you know? I ruined their childhood for them. Ruined it. Like, they have their own problems because of it, you know? But sitting in prison for 4 years changed my life. Going through that program changed my life. Well, when they actually sent me to a prison, because, you know, I started out, I was just in county jails, a couple different county jails, and that I actually went to the prison and had to spend some time. And then I came up for parole, and they didn't let me have it, you know, and they gave me a 12-month flop, so I was going to be in there for at least another year. And just having to sit for that long, and then when I went up for parole again the year later, they gave me another flop, another 12-month flop, and I was like, I have spent so many birthdays in here already, and another year before I could even get out, you know, which I ended up getting out on mandatory release. I pretty much served all my time. Like, they slow walked me out the door, probably because I've been in so much trouble before, because that was like my 4th or 5th felony. And I didn't have nothing to do in there except think and think. And then when I went to the program and started taking a look at myself and taking a look at the damage that I have caused, pardon my language, but I was like, what the fuck was I doing, you know? Like, who in their right mind does that to their children? I mean, who? I'm just blown away by my own actions. Like, I don't even know who that was. I didn't know who I was when I got to prison. I didn't know who I was when I started working on myself. Didn't even know anything about myself. Didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like. I had to rediscover myself all over again, you know? And I did not like who I was. You know, I hated myself. And I'm just now learning to love myself again, you know? If I can change, anybody can. Because I thought, you know, I'm just destined to be a drug addict. That's just what my future is, you know?
And that's an awful way to think because that's never true. Change is always possible. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm 48. I'll be 49 this year. And if I can change at this late of an age, anybody can. Change is always possible. As addicts, we always think, you know, it's too late, too much damage is done, you know, that they're going to be able to change. And that's just not true. There's always hope. And one of my biggest problems was I never asked for help. You know, I was too prideful to ask for help, thought I could do everything on my own. And that's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn is to ask for help and still yet ask for help, you know. I have accomplished so much just in the last 3.5 months that I've been out of prison. Probably I've accomplished more than I've accomplished in my whole life. Just God and Goodwill together has had a major impact on me, and it's helped me to turn my life around. Like my kids message me and call me just to talk to me. That hasn't been a thing in a long time. I hadn't seen my twin daughters in 9 years or even spoken to them in 9 years. And they're 18 now. And, you know, I have a relationship with them now. I got to spend Christmas and Thanksgiving with them this past year for the first time in 9 years. Yeah, it's major. Like, my son calls me when he just wants to talk. You know, even if it's just he's having a bad day, he just wants to call and talk about it. And that's amazing in itself right there. Goodwill is an amazing program. I would recommend anybody just working at Goodwill, even just working at Goodwill. They have so many programs that they help people with. You know, when I was in prison, that's where I started college, working on my associate's degree. And then right before I left, Goodwill has an Aspire program. It's called Goodwill Aspire. And they go into the prisons and, you know, talk to people that are getting ready to be released because the recidivism, I can't say the word right, recidivism rate is so bad for people that get out of prison and go back, get out and go back. I'm a prime example of that too because this is my third time going. So, you know, there just has never been a lot of resources for reentry people. They just kind of throw you out to the wolves, you know? And as addicts, we do what we've always done. We go back to the same lifestyle. Just go back to the same people, the same places. And changing your people, places, things really is a major thing. Like drugs are everywhere, but if you change your environment and you change who you surround yourself with, positive people, people in recovery, there is a lot of addiction in recovery. You see a lot of bad stuff just on the streets. People just laying on the streets dying, but there's also a lot of recovery there too. And the Goodwill Aspire program is amazing for anybody coming out of prison. When you get out of prison, they get you clothes, they get you groceries, they pay you a $100 stipend every week for 12 weeks. They help you get a job. They just do, I mean, they make sure you do not want for anything. They help you get a phone. They help you get home placement if you don't have somewhere to go. They help you get into sober living. Like, they are just amazing. They have changed my life. Like, you know, I got out, I'd done the program. You know, they can send you to classes. They pay you to go to classes. They got me a job at Goodwill, you know, and I didn't get a job right away. But I wanted it right away because I want instant gratification. All addicts do. But I just learned how to have patience and wait. And I was out for probably a month and a half before I got a job. But now I work at Goodwill, and I have gotten my peer support specialist license. And Goodwill paid me $250 just for getting that. Now I am in also career coach training because I want to be a career coach. They will pay me $250 for that. They have a Cars to Work program where they will help you get a car. They have Goodwill Housing, which is what I'm in right now. They give you your own apartment that you share with one person. They pay your rent for 6 months. If you save $2,500 in that 6 months, they give you $1,000 for you to go and get your own place. They have a dentistry program. If you work at Goodwill, it's called Good Smiles. They give you $5,000 just to go to the dentist, to have your teeth worked on. They have a store coach there, so they, you go and they just help you with everything. Like my career coach, Ari, she is such an amazing person. Like, she's just been there for me and helped me, and that's what people coming out of prison need. Like, they need those kind of services, I was amazed because coming out of prison, I came out of prison before, and there's never been stuff like this, There's never been help. You just get thrown out there and you're on your own to do whatever. And, I hadn't planned to go to Louisville. I had planned to go to Ohio where my mom was. But after going through the Aspire program in prison and just knowing the resources that was available to me, I've never lived on my own. I've always had a man or had my mom. And so I just made a goal that I'm going to go out and do it on my own this time. And I'm doing it. Like, I'm on my own. I have my own apartment. I have not had my license in 23 years because I've had 6 DUIs. Goodwill paid $800 last month on my reinstatement fees. They're paying another $1,000 this month. And I'm going to get my license back for the first time in 23 years. I just always thought I would never have my license again because I owed so much money. But with their help, that's something really major for me. Anybody that knows me, that is major. I haven't had my license since 2002. My advice to someone else that's struggling with addiction is to ask for help, to never give up. And if you have been through trauma, like, that's something you need to work on. Like, mental health is something you need to work on. Mental health and addiction go hand in hand. They feed off of each other. The biggest thing is it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help because there is people out there to help you that have been through the same things as you. And it's all about helping people. Like, that's my major goal, is to help people. Help people have what I have now because it's amazing. Like, I always thought, drug addiction was where it's at. It's not. It might make you feel good for a few minutes, but it's not lasting. Like, being in recovery and being sober and the things that comes with it is life-changing. Like, it's things that stay. Not like addiction where you just got a immediate fix and then you have to do it again and again and again. Recovery, it's always there. You always have that feeling, that there is a way out. That's why I always thought there's no way I could get out of this. I've been in it so long. That's not true. You can always change. I don't care if you're 20 or 60. There is always hope. There's always hope. Your kids don't want to hear what you say. Especially if you've been in addiction a long time. Like, my kids have heard it over and over and over. It's the action that means something. And, kids get hurt in the process, and you have to let them have their healing process. You can't force anything upon them. You got to give them time to heal. And you doing the right thing is what they're going to see. That's what my kids are now finally starting to see, because I've gotten sober before, and stayed sober for a while, but always went back. But I think they're actually seeing that I'm working, putting an effort to make things happen and actually working for it and staying sober like I said I'm going to. It's a long process. I'm still in the process of it, I've still got a long ways to go, especially with my twins, but you just got to keep at it. You have to be the one to fix it. You have to take accountability for your actions and accept what you did and move on. Do not stay in the past. Do not dwell in the past. What's done is done. You got to be in the present. Can't be in the past or the future. You got to be in the present. Do what's right now. Have integrity. Do what's right even when nobody's looking. And when you do those things and you see all the things that you get back from doing the right thing, your kids are going to see that too, and they're going to want to be your life. Every kid wants their parents in their life. Every kid wants their mom. Every kid wants their dad. Even if they get older and act like they don't, they do. They do. They're just tired of being hurt. So it's just something you're always going to have to work on for the rest of your life. Recovery is something you have to work on for every day for the rest of your life.